What is up, Scout Army? This is FuegoSteve bringing you another edition of the NBA podcast. We got an interesting, it's a 10-game slate tonight. It's a interesting slate. We've already had some value open up, and me and my guy JaguarLou. What's up, Lou? We're gonna try to get you through it.
What's up, Fuego? Yeah, this is a pretty cool slate. You got this Brooklyn Nets game. If you can figure out the right combo, you can get some great value here at some positions where you might want to go low, you might want to go high. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to try to make you guys some money.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Our podcast was pretty good yesterday. We had one bad thing, and that was Rounded House Jefferson getting injured, which we obviously can't control. All my lineups did well, but unfortunately had him in most of them. But most of our plays were right. Whiteside did not do what we liked, but I said to hedge that with some Horford and Russell and Booker were in a lot of winning lineups. So today we're going to jump right in at point guard. I did want a quick mention. So this year, the way the NBA has done their scheduling, they've tried to spread it out. They've tried to reduce back-to-back. So these 10-game slates are going to be the normal big slates from now on. There are a few, like maybe 10 or so slates that are more than 10 games throughout the whole NBA season, maybe 10 to 15, where you'll get a 12-game slate, something like that. But these 10-game slates, and we're going to see a lot of just like what we did. We're going to see a 3-game slate yesterday. We're going to see a 10 today, then maybe a 6 tomorrow, then a 9, and this is kind of how it's going to go. But these big slates, the difference between the big and the small slates is the big slates usually create more value. There's players that you can go to. So normally the big slates is more where you'll see the stars and scrubs approach. But I don't necessarily think that you have to go stars and scrubs tonight. You can certainly go balanced and put a winning lineup. I do recommend getting at least one stud in your lineup, maybe two, if you can afford it comfortably. And then if you want to go 3 or 4 to go to the stars and scrubs, I wouldn't fault it. But, every slate's different, so you just got to kind of do what we talk about, pair them up and see what you got. So we'll jump right in. 2-point guard, we got Russell Westbrook. I don't think we need to talk about him. If you can get him in your lineup, I suggested he's only 10,200. I mean, he's almost 10 even. He was 11.8 to start the year, 11.8 to start the year. He's now 10.2. That's because he hasn't been putting up those 50 spots. 49, he almost got 50 last game. 49 Fanduel points, 39 Fanduel points, 33, 51, 48. And he hasn't hit 66 in a couple weeks. Hasn't hit over 60. So, I get it. And they're doing the right thing by dropping his price. But I still like him quite a bit. He is Russell Westbrook. Going against Sacramento doesn't scare me. We got Damian Lillard, John Wall, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, I like. Got kicked out the other day, killed my lineups after getting 2 technical fouls, but he's only 7,500. I like this range here. The Kemba Walker's 7,400, Conley 72. I like Rubio quite a bit at 71. Drew Holiday 7,000. The high end is the Westbrook, the Lillards, the Walls. Are you going to play any of them? And if not, which of these like $7,000 price guys you drop into,
Lou? Well, first of all, I think I'm going to stay away from Wall. He comes into the game with a shoulder. Even if they confirm him, I wouldn't pay $9,700 for a guy that I don't know what minutes limit he's on. In a slow-paced game against Dallas. I don't know. I don't really trust that. My exposure from that game will be coming from Bradley Beal or Otto Porter. Damian Lillard, once again, you're welcome to do that. Memphis tends to be a good defending team. I know Marc Gasol is injured and is what's his name out too now? Let me see. Hold on. No, Mike Conley's in. So, you're welcome to pay up for these big players. my opinion is if you're thinking about paying up for Lillard or Wall, just go up to Westbrook. I
Right.
mean, he's another five, six
Sure.
hundred. You can make it happen, and he's far and beyond a safer play with a higher upside. So I don't see a need to play Lillard. I'm not even going to mention Wall because he has a serious shoulder, and I don't see him coming into this game and coming back and shooting a bunch and dropping 60 points. So I wouldn't consider Wall or Lillard plays unless you want to get exposure, to GPPs. If you have multiple lineups, I don't see a problem with it. But if you're entering one or two or three lineups, I think most of your point guard exposure would either go up to Westbrook or, like Fuego said, I like Kyle Lowry against a Chicago team that their DVPs are allowing 54.2 fantasy points per game during the season against opposing point guards, which is second worst in the league, or second best in terms of whatever you want to look at it. They're the second best team to target for opposing point guards. And then over the last over the last five, they're also allowing 54.8 points to opposing point guards, which ranks them second worst in the league, and 54.2 allowed points to opposing point guards over the last 10. So the Chicago Bulls are just bad at guarding the point guard, and it's been the same guy all year, which is Jerry Grant. So Kyle Lowry should have no problem putting up a safe floor. Do you have the over-under there?
Yeah, 203 implied team total of 107. They're favored by 11.
That's more than enough with maybe Valanciunas takes a little bit of exposure away, but throughout a game, is the spread close, you said, or it wasn't
No,
close?
they're favored by 11.
Ooh, see, that's close. Like I do like the Lowry play. The blowout factor actually does worry me now, but the matchup is fine. He should be able to do whatever he wants to do on the court, being guarded by Jerry Grant. Other than Lowry, if you want to go, stay in this mid level. If Marc Gasol doesn't play, I have no problem playing Mike Conley. I guess my favorite mid-level play, like if I was going to write a GPP article, would be Malcolm Brogdon. He's going up against a Cleveland team that has allowed a lot of points to opposing point guards since Derrick Rose has come back. Let me see if I have the stats here. Cleveland over the last five has allowed 58 points to opposing point guards, 58 even. And over the course of the season, they've been in the top five worst. And as a season average, they've allowed 49.8 points to opposing point guards. So that's 8 points higher over their last 5 games. And that's right as, that's not a coincidence. Those 5 games, Derrick Rose has come back, I think maybe 3 games ago. I could double check right now. But Malcolm Brogdon put up his best game in a while, maybe the best game of the season, his last game, 34 minutes, 35 points, 35.4 points to be exact. He's starting to feel a part of this offense. And, I can see this being a back and forth game, and Brogdon has the matchup. I mean, Derrick Rose isn't the player he once was on Chicago. And I think you could target him, especially if you want to pay up for some of these guys that we'll mention as we get down to power forward and center. You're going to have to pay down somewhere. Malcolm Brogdon is a serious guy to consider. Maybe in prior years he wasn't a serious guy to consider because he passed a lot and he played very good defense. But this year you can consider him for a reasonable floor of 30, and as you saw in his last game, 35.4 points. He was he was priced at around 5,600 that day, I believe. That's value. That's more than value. So Malcolm Brogdon is definitely a lower option that I was considering. Under that,
I like
So
Collison at 6,000, who's right there under Brogdon.
yeah, for me under that, I don't love to get too, especially on a night like tonight where you can take advantage of like I said, a lot of these net players for good exposure. I think you want to take points where you can grab them. I'm gonna mention, and I think Fuego's going to agree with me that some of the centers and power forwards are worth paying up for today. So, finding value in these guard positions is something that's very important today. So, yeah.
Some of the lower ones I like at the under 6,000 range. You got TJ McConnell, 5,500. I know he's going against Utah, but he's been playing well. Jerry and Grant at 4,900. Put up 41, I think, yesterday. I wouldn't 42. Wouldn't expect that again in 36 minutes, but he was a good play. I played him last night, and he's had some big games. He's had a 35s. He's had 30s. So Jaren Grant at only 4,900 going against Lowry, I don't mind. Spencer Dinwiddie, 4,800 in that Brooklyn game. You got the guys on Denver, it's always tough to get right, whether it's Jamal Murray or Emmanuel Mudiay, but I tend to see them. Mudiay, for example, 31-22, 31-21. So, he's been playing pretty well at only 4,800. So these are some guys that you could pair with a Westbrook or even pair with a mid-range guy and go higher elsewhere for the LeBrons of LeBron James and the Greek Freak, etc. There's a lot of big names on the slate. So one way to I've talked about this before, and we've talked about when you spend down at point guard, you can still have the upside there, as opposed to if you spend down at certain other positions. It's a good way to do it. So I think any of these guys are viable. For example, even De'Aaron Fox, possibly 5,500. Any of those low end guys you want to touch on, or any other recommendations at point guard, Lou?
No, I'm just gonna say, I don't lie to you guys when I tell you what I do. I hope we're not in the same lineup. Don't copy the lineups that I ever say, but I'm locking in Lowry and Brogdon tonight. I'm hoping that there's no blowout in that Toronto game. Other than that, I really do love going up to Westbrook for 10-2. It's such a reasonable price for what he offers. If you look at his game logs, like even the 35-39s, like that's why he's so low. But it doesn't really matter. Like he offers a 50, 60 point ceiling, and 10-2 is something that you can fit into your lineup. So, why not do it, But yeah, I think Brogdon is as low as I'm going for cash games. And I guess I see reason to play Collison. I see reason to play Rubio. I see a reason to play Walker. I guess Kemba Walker. He's from Brooklyn. That's a return to New York. Maybe Kemba Walker. That's a narrative there. He hasn't been playing too well as of late. He's put up a 20-point game in 33 minutes against San Antonio, but that's expected against Popovich. But then against Minnesota, he should have had a great matchup, and he put up 26.9 points in 30 minutes. So people might be off Walker, but that could be a sneaky play. I'm almost positive he's from Brooklyn. Am I wrong there?
I am not sure.
Let me see. Hold on one sec. Because where's he? I'm like 90% sure he's from Brooklyn. If he's coming, yeah, he's from the Bronx. So if he's coming back to New York, he can feel comfortable. And if Kemba Walker gets hot and you have him in your lineup at low ownership, that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, he's in my write-up today, I believe. All right, so yeah, there's lots of spots you can go point guard. It's pretty deep today. There's lots of, when you have a 10-game slate, there's a lot of places to go, and we try to narrow it down for you and eliminate some for you, give you some players that we are okay with or not okay with. But we also like to give you options, because not everyone plays the same. Not everyone has the same feelings about certain guys. and that's why we try to give you options. I mean, hey, we could be lineup sellers and just give you lineups, and but what's the fun in that? And then you never learn. There's days that we're not going to be able to do podcast days. We can't do write-ups. You need to learn how to do this on your own, and that's one of our biggest goals here at Scout TFS is to teach you how to do these things. So moving over to shooting guard, no Harden on the slate. So we got Bradley Beal at 85 is our man. We have a lot of stars on the slate. I was going to say there's no Harden, but there's the Westbrook, James, Davis, Greek Freak, Cousins, Porzingis. So anyway, Bradley Beal 8,500. I'm not sure I'm going to go up there. DeRozan 81, Chris Middleton 75, who's been playing really well. Middleton 33 last game, 59 the day before, 23, 52. He's been playing really well, and he's going up against Cleveland, who has using a Lou defense versus position or a DVP. The Cavaliers don't guard the shooting guards all that well. And then you got some of my favorite plays, D'Angelo Russell and Victor Oladipo, both at 73. I wrote in my write-up, I'm not sure why Russell's price has dropped. He's been on fire late, and he was up to 8,000 yesterday, and his price dropped 700. There's three. Trevor Booker, RHJ is out, and one other player is out. Jared Allen is out for the Nets, so Russell's probably going to get even more usage. Talk to me about these high-end point guards, Lou. Are you paying up for any of these guys?
Well, first of all, you're like, oh, Bradley Beal, I don't know about him. That was like my play of the day. Dude, look at his
I always like Beal. It's tough for me to talk about. Let's put it this way: it's tough for me to talk about the players I like every day. I feel like I get redundant, So
yeah,
I'm not sure I'm going up to 8,500 for Beal. I mean, that was my initial thought. Tell us why you like him so much.
This is my reasoning on him. So he's 8,500. Sometime, and if you look at his last three games, he's basically hit 50. He hit 49, 49.2, and 45.8 over 37, 36, and 39 minutes. Obviously, this team needs him when John Wall's not at his best. This is John Wall's first game coming back from his shoulder injury. I could see him taking a couple shots, but I don't see him going crazy. I see this team needing to be carried by...
I mean, he's only missed one game. It's not like he's been out for a month.
No, I know, but so in that one game, Beal took advantage and scored 49 points, but even before that, he scored 45 and 49. So I don't think John Wall is the kind of guy that is going to come back strong and try to push it against a Dallas team. I think he passes it off to Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal even runs the point in the early second quarter. I just think that at an $8,500 price, he's pretty safe. With that said, there is that Brooklyn situation going on, which is hard to ignore, and you do need to see value from there if you want to have.
So just to play devil's advocate with you here. So if you look at Russell's last three games, 46, 40, and 45. So just slightly underneath what Beal's getting at a $1,200 reduction. So if you were just to say, Steve, on the spot, who do you want? I think I would take Russell. And then Oladipo at 73 as well. He has not quite had those games, 33, 47, 35. So maybe you think he's a little bit below Beal. I could see that, but he still has that potential of that 40-plus game as well. So that's why I initially blew Beal off. But he has had some great ceiling games this year, and like you said, without even the Wall is probable to play. He'd be picking up the slack. From there, so
no, listen, I think it's a good argument. I think one thing that we're both agreeing on maybe is DeMar DeRozan's not worth the pay. Like if you're gonna pay, you pay up for Beal, or are we on agreement there?
Sure.
But with that said, I do think it's slightly contrarian to I'm thinking about this now, but Denver doesn't guard the guards too well. So I might be going D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert at the shooting guard positions. Um, I might be doing hedge lineups, having Karis LeVert in one and D'Angelo Russell in the other. I don't know exactly
I
what
would
I'm
just
going
run Russell and then one of the Denver point guards
to.
across from him.
Well,
I mean, shooting guards.
the thing is like Karis LeVert's not the worst defender. I think Russell, like, it's so hard to explain. Like, I don't want. All right, so looking at Karis LeVert's game logs, it's hard to like even think about him. I just don't think he's been playing well, but he isn't the worst defender. So in terms of taking one of the Denver players, I'm not going that way. Maybe you're welcome to disagree with me. My exposure to the Denver game, I'll talk about Paul Millsap when we get to power forwards. I'm going to stay on topic today, but I think D'Angelo Russell is a lock at the shooting guard position. But it's almost like LeVert has the opportunity to do so well. I don't really understand why these game logs are looking the way they are. I've actually been watching these games, and I haven't had the slightest indication that these game logs are so poor. So with that said, I might be locking in Russell and Beal in cash lineups. I don't love a lot of this stuff as you get down. I mentioned to you before we went live on here, Embiid's not playing today. JJ Redick in his last game hit 42.6 points in 32 minutes. I'm not saying he's not capable of that again, but at 5,000, it's a value play. So I don't mind JJ Redick. I don't even mind Courtney Lee going up against Lamb. He's been more involved as of late. There's a
What
lot
about
of
Hardaway, man? Hardaway's 30, 32, 30, 40, 29, 55 his last five.
You know what? As a Knicks fan, all I could see is like, I hate Hardaway. How we just signed him and gave him all that money. I can't see. I can't see myself.
No emotions, DFS.
No, I know, but I can't see myself rostering him too much this season. He is so like he has good games, but against such specifically.
So for these,
Yeah.
go ahead. So for the mid range, you're not going to pay for McCollum, Tyreek Evans, Hardaway, Jeremy Lamb, Gary Harris, Will Barton, Justin Holiday. You're going to skip over these guys. You're either going to pay up or drop down to a Redick, a Lou Williams, a Karis LeVert.
Yes.
Austin Rivers.
Exactly. The only people I would consider lower down is Will Barton and Gary Harris, but that would be a hedge situation. That would be like me playing Russell and then investing two lineups, one with Barton and one with Harris, because I do think one of them should do well. I do think Paul Millsap should have a good game, and I also like Jokic, their center, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. But one of the guards should do well. And I don't think it'll be Murray. Usually it's not, right? Like I usually hate rostering Murray. I'm checking right now.
Let's talk about Tyreek Evans real quick. Here's a guy we haven't really talked about much this year. He's been playing really well. Okay, so the last 4 games, he's over 30 minutes every game. He's put up 32, 27, 42, and 35 FanDuel points. Those are decent numbers. Those are good numbers for a shooting guard, consistent numbers, 30 to 5 games ago. So he's been putting up the points. He's scoring points. He's getting a few assists a game. He's getting a steal. He's getting a few rebounds. And he's a guy who, he was kind of lost in that shooting guard shuffle in Sacramento last year. And now he's kind of coming into his own here on Memphis. And he's never highly owned, and it's probably because of that price range for it too. But do you any love for Tyreek Evans, whether it be tonight or going forward?
You know what's funny? I didn't even notice him until you mentioned him.
Exactly. No one ever does.
I know. Tyreek Evans is like his game logs look great, and He's obviously a talented player. He's just like bounced around from organization to organization. Yeah, I have no problem with him. He should be going up against. Let me see.
McCollum. No, McCollum's not bad. It's even.
well, right now they. Let me see. I look at two different websites. One of them I'm seeing that they don't have him starting, and then this website doesn't have him starting either. So they have your boy Dylan Brooks starting, I guess, against McCollum. They'll probably bring him in off the bench. But still, that he's done that, when he was in Sacramento, and I think he's done that. Where else was he? He was in New Orleans. But
yeah,
yeah,
he's probably 6 man. Yeah.
he's done that a lot. So if he's getting the minutes, yeah, why not? I think that the Memphis Grizzlies might have some injury problems tonight. They have Marc Gasol, which is probable, which is fine. I don't think it affects him in too much of a negative way. JaMychal Green's out. Mario Chalmers is probable. Yeah, I mean, look, he's getting the minutes, and like I think they're their second unit minutes, so I have no problem throwing in Evans, especially if he's at low ownership. He's a guy that definitely is capable of scoring a whole bunch of points, and
it's that price range too. I think that does it to the ownership. It's like, oh, I'll go down to Hardaway, I'll go down to Lamb. Even myself, I play Harrison,
but
or I'll go up to McCollum or Russell. I'm not going to play him, so that's that gets you that low ownership.
You're right, though. I mean, Hardaway might have that ceiling against Cleveland in that one game, but like if you look at Evans, 6,200 is a little bit too much to pay for a 6-man, but 32, 27, 42, 35, 30, and so give him a little bit more time. Maybe he hits those 40 burgers.
Right.
Did I use the burger right there?
Yeah, that's appropriate for him. Sure, that would be.
All right, cool. I'm getting better at this. Yeah,
7x. So yeah.
Yeah, like I think D'Angelo Russell's a lock. If you have the money, go up to Beal. But I don't like DeRozan. They're not trusting Middleton to guard LeBron tonight, are they?
I can look at the matchups.
I have it right here. Hold on. They are. Middleton becomes an option for sure. I recommended Bogdanovich the other day going up against LeBron, especially with Love questionable tonight. And they have Love out of the lineup right now. Oh, no, they have him in. But he's not doing so well. I saw a designation next to him. What did it say? Hold on. I have it right here. He's a game-time decision. He went through practice with the Cavaliers on Monday. It says illness, so I guess he was sick. When LeBron has to carry the offense a lot, whoever guards him tends to benefit. The other day I recommended Bogdanovich, and he did great at a really low, like $4,400 price. So don't mull over Middleton at $7,500. He might be a lot to pay, and he could hit foul trouble. But look at that.
He's another guy that nobody ever pays for and who's been doing really well now.
Yeah, like look at those two ceilings. In 2 of his last 4 games, he's hit 52 and 59. In a game where I don't know. Let me see. They have a Antetokounmpo going up against Crowder. Crowder's actually a good defender. Like this could be a game that they rely on Middleton to both defend LeBron and supply some points on the offensive end. And
don't be fooled. Middleton can have a good game when the freak does. They don't necessarily have a bad correlation.
Yeah, it's like I actually might do a couple. Like I have 2 entries in the slam tonight. I have 2 in the clutch, and then I have 1 in the qualifier. And usually I like to hedge lineups against each other. I guess a hedge that I might do is one lineup I'll do the whole Damari Carroll thing. I I did like LeBron at one point, but at a $7,500 price, people are going to be off Chris Middleton because he's too high. And I was going to roster Brogdon. So my hedge or a viable hedge could one lineup have Brogdon and the other lineup have Middleton. I think that Antetokounmpo will have to give up the ball with a defender. He's Crowder's defending him, and he's not the worst defender, despite Antetokounmpo being a beast.
That leads me into the small forward and Antetokounmpo. You have him at 11.7 and James at 11.3. Are you going to pay for either of them? I think I would pay for LeBron. He's been pretty on recently. 54, 92, 57 his last three. Those are, man, that 92 that night killed me because I had Warren who got hurt in that lineup. But 92, that's just nuts. So I think I'm going James before the Freak, but I could see I even made a lineup with both of them in it just to see how it would look, and I didn't necessarily hate it. Talk to me about the big two here tonight at small forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine paying up for LeBron. Do you not consider Robert Covington a lock at 6,300? That was my first thought when I saw that like Rashard Holmes was starting against Rudy Gobert and like Saric at the small forward. Like
I always like Covington. I wouldn't necessarily say a lock because you have Ben Simmons there. So what if Simmons? I mean, Simmons has gone 53, 50, 54, 40. His last four of his last five hit 50 without Embiid. So I wouldn't say Covington's a lock, but Covington's usage goes up quite a bit without Embiid, so you got to keep that in mind. So I like Covington for sure. Would you pair him? Would you pair Covington with LeBron, or would you go Covington and you're going to drop down? It is the weakest position again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I like LeBron for sure. In my experience, the Cavs lose whenever they don't have one of their main pieces. So like if Love isn't in the game, I think it's an illness. I don't love LeBron. Like I don't think he's gonna go up against the entire team. But if Love's in the game, I have no problem rostering LeBron at that price if you can fit him in there. The thing is like I like DeMarre Carroll just because of the usage flux with the Brooklyn Nets situation, and I also like Covington, so I just saw value there, and I locked those guys in from the get-go just because I really want a couple of these expensive big men when we get down to power forward and center. I'm still having trouble figuring this out simply because
I think all three Brooklyn Nets, DeMarre Carroll, I think Alan Crabb at 4,300 should play. And
I mean, we're going to give you some.
Could even go Joe Harris at 3,200.
Yeah, and Fuego like Joe Harris. I like Quincy Acey. We're supplying you with some really risky picks, but Quincy Acey is a guy that when he's hot, he was on the Knicks. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but he's a good player. He's not a bad player at all. He can hit the three ball. I was watching him the other night. I think he hit 4 threes the other night off the bench. If Joe Harris, I'm less on him. I think Fuego's more on him, but I think DeMarre Carroll is the easy safe pick to say. Sure. He's gonna gather more of everything and maybe run a little bit more of this offense. So I'm trying to just keep Carroll in my main core. For a hedge, I have no problem going down to AC or Harris. But for the most part, Carroll is just the benefactor for me from this whole Joel Embiid situation. I think he'll just gather a lot of rebounds. He's probably going up against Wilson Chandler. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's going up against Paul Millsap. So this is one of the plays one of my favorite plays of the day. I was going to tell you about Paul Millsap. So I forgot about that. Maybe DeMarre Carroll is actually not one of my – I think he'll hit value, but I'm going to mention in the power forward position that I love Paul Millsap. So whatever you want to do in terms of –
Then what about Crab versus Chandler?
See, Crab scares me because he's a 3-point shooter, and let me look at his game logs. Hold on. He came
25 and
over.
31 past two, but he was down before that.
He came over from Portland, and I just don't think he's capable of um, he needs to make those shots in order. Yeah, I don't love Crab, honestly. 11, 31, 25. I get it. If he gets the minutes, he's a point per minute kind of guy. But I'm more inclined to go AC. I don't know how likely it is that this guy Harris does well, but I wouldn't go crazy with this Nets game just because of what's going on. I'm gonna stay pretty mellow and just do D'Angelo Russell. I'm gonna lock in D'Angelo Russell. Based off Karis LeVert's recent game logs, I'm gonna stay away from him. Damari Carroll, I'm gonna have one lineup with him, and then if I hedge a lineup, I'll take him out and I'll throw in Joe Harris maybe or AC, simply because I am going to mention that I do love Paul Millsap tonight. You can play them against each other. It's fine. You hope they don't get into foul trouble. But Paul Millsap will be going up against Damari Carroll tonight, and he has 30 pounds on him. So
Do you like Paul George at 7,800 or Joe Ingles, who I don't mind at 5,200?
I don't mind Ingles, but at all. He should be going up against Redick. It could be a GPP play. Definitely not a cash play. Kyle Anderson's been looking better and better this season. I don't know if I trust him tonight. But if you're in that range, I have no problem taking a risk there. I would probably go to Joe Ingles for 400 more in a better matchup. Yeah, but these plays.
What about my guy Dylan Brooks? No.
No. I wouldn't go down this
that low either.
Yeah, I would go as low as Damari Carroll, and then or Harris, that whole
Harris at 32. Yeah.
Harris
played well yesterday. He had 27 points in 25 minutes. He was nailing the three, 18 points. He did have a block of steal. So you would like to see if that would become more consistent. But he's had some decent – he's got double-digit points in every game. He's only playing 22, 19, 22, 18 minutes, and he's only putting up 11, 11, 8. But we are talking Rondae Hollis-Jefferson's out, so Harris started the second half for him yesterday. So if they decide to start Harris over Quincy Acy, who we'll talk about in a second, if they do decide to start Harris – you have to be careful about his usage, because it's not going to be Russell will be the usage and Carroll will be the usage and Crab, they'll get more usage. But it's an interesting play at $3,200. At $3,200 it's rock bottom. So you could put Harris in your lineup and do quite a bit with it. So it's not the safest play. It's certainly not a cash play yet that I'm aware of. But it's a play for sure, and it's got with a little upside there. If you tell me right now he's getting 27 points, I'd say thank you very much. So, so it's the weakest position again tonight. I think we're much deeper at shooting. I got something up on my computer now where I'm eliminating my player pool, and even on the optimizer, you can X people out. And as I'm Xing people out, I find myself Xing out a lot of small forwards. So it is the weakest position. I think James and the Freak could be an interesting combo if you wanted to pay off for both. I don't think most people are going to do that. So it'll be an interesting combo. I don't mind George. Carroll, I don't mind. And Bojan Bogdanovic versus the Pelicans, probably don't hate. We mentioned Covington, Rudy Gay, the other guy opposite Kyle Anderson, who also plays small forward for San Antonio. So moving over to power forward, we got the big guy Anthony Davis at 11-7, and then Porzingis and Simmons. Rarely do I play Davis and Cousins in the same lineup. If I do choose to play Cousins tonight, I'm not playing Davis. If I don't play Cousins, there is a chance I do play Davis. The ceilings for these guys is just so immense when you're talking about the two of them, and it's amazing that they're on the same team with those huge ceilings. But we got Porzingis 9-8, Ben Simmons, who I talked about liking at 9-3, Blake Griffin at 8-4. Those are your top four guys there. You paying up for any of them?
I think it is extremely important to pay up for Anthony Davis if possible. Thad Young has allowed the most points to opposing power forwards in the league by far. These DVPs are not a mistake. Thad Young has been a bad defender for years, and if they expect Thad Young to guard Anthony Davis, which is what the projections have right now, Anthony Davis is going to have one hell of a game. The Pacers allow 57.4 fantasy points to opposing power forwards on the season, which is 5.1 more points than second worst in the league, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Over their last 10, they're bad. Over their last 5, they're bad. And nothing has changed as to who's guarding the power forward position. It's not a coincidence. If you have the money, lock Anthony Davis in because he is in for one hell of a game, especially since Miles Turner should be able to somewhat contain DeMarcus Cousins. The problem for me is I really want a couple of these other power forwards, and I have 2 centers that I want to pay up for. So I'm having trouble getting Davis in my lineup. But yeah, I think Davis is in for one hell of a game today if he stays on the floor and at an $11,000 700 price. I think you can lock him in for sure. I think he has a great matchup. And I think New Orleans needs him to win. And against Thad Young, he should have 0 problem. I mean, yeah, there's other power forwards that have great matchups. Kristaps Porzingis, I don't mind. Ben Simmons, I don't mind at all. Blake Griffin, I don't mind. LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't mind. I love Paul Millsap. I have no problem with these guys, but I just think that Anthony Davis is on a separate level tonight in terms of possibly having a 70-point upside.
Yeah, I did want to mention Porzingis, 5 of his last 6. He's gone over 50 FanDuel points, including 68 last time out. So Porzingis has just been on fire. You almost get a $2,000 savings from Davis. So if you think Davis is more in the 40 to 50 point range tonight, and you thought Porzingis would be similar, it would be a big discount there. Griffin, I don't love going up against Aldridge. Not my favorite play of the day, but I don't mind it. These guys have ceilings. All the high-end guys, they're priced there for a reason. And when we're talking GPPs, they all have high ceilings. So usually I think they're okay to play. But then we drop down to Paul Millsap, who you mentioned going against Carroll. He's got 30 pounds on him, you told me. It's a decent matchup at 7,400. Carmelo Anthony is under 7,000. He's down to 6,900 versus because he's going up against no, they're playing Sacramento. No. So I don't mind that Carmelo Anthony play at 6,900. For example, he was 8,000 to start the year. Now he's not been putting up over 30, but he does have a 40-point game on the year, and he has a potential. I just think I like George and Westbrook better. Otto Porter, I'm a sucker for 6,700. I love his ceiling. If Wall's banged up a little, he's always in play, and his price back dropped down. It was up to 8,000, I think, the other day. Maybe not 76 the other day, and it's 67. I guess you're not liking Young on the offensive side. If you like, well, maybe you do. Pep going against Davis on the other side. Markkanen, who's never highly owned, but has still been putting up decent numbers. So we got a really deep power forward position tonight. I could even go John Henson at 5,000. Ibaka's 5,000. My God, Derek Favors 48. I mean, I'm just listing guys that I would consider, and I could consider all these guys. Zach Randolph 45 against Oklahoma City. Maybe not drop below him, except for the guy Quincy Acey, who you mentioned at min price 3,000. Who at this point I see Harris in the starting lineup, but Acey would be getting some play, no doubt. Coming off the bench. So talk to me about some other non-Anthony Davis players at power forward tonight, Lou. I know I just listed every single one of them, by the way. And take us off mute.
No, it's fine. Yeah. So, like I said, I like Paul Millsap. I think he's a good play today. If you do play Paul Millsap, maybe there's a correlation. You play Joe Harris instead of Damari Carroll, just because maybe Millsap gets Carroll into foul trouble. In terms of some of these like GPP plays, Otto Porter, I have no problem with. For the most part, I think I'm going to be staying up in that upper range. And if I don't go to that upper range, I have a lineup that I like a lot, pairing Quincy Acey and Joe Harris together, assuming Damari Carroll gets into foul trouble. Assuming that Damari Carroll gets into foul trouble. Sorry, I'm having trouble with these names because Joe, like I'm having like deja vu. Joe Harris, what team was he on last year?
I can look up. Keep talking about that.
Either way, yeah. So I have a lineup that I like with Joe Harris, and Quincy Acey, paired with Paul Millsap. That would be a correlation that would happen in a game flow situation.
He was on Brooklyn last year, but the year before he was on Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm having like these players have to stop switching teams because it's confusing me. And
career 4.7 point per game average guy. I don't expect.
Well, the reason that Quincy Acey and Harris make sense together is because they could be on the floor together if Damari Carroll gets into foul trouble. And the person that would get Damari Carroll into foul trouble would be Paul Millsap. So if you want to lock Paul Millsap, Quincy Acey, and Harris into a lineup, it would logically make sense because, each one of them would play off one another. Paul Millsap getting Carroll out of the game, Harris has to come in, and then Quincy Acey has to come in because I'll mention my center play, which is Nikolai Jokic. If you play Paul Millsap and Jokic, you can almost guarantee that Quincy Acey will be if you're playing under the assumption that Jokic and Millsap will dominate the big man game, assuming, Mozgov can't guard Jokic and Damari Carroll can't guard Millsap, Harris and Quincy Acey should be seeing heavy minutes. That's a correlation that I think I'm going to be going with my main lineup tonight. That does make sense, and I'll repeat it one more time. The Millsap-Jokic pairing with the Quincy Acey Joe Harris, assuming Damari Carroll gets into foul trouble. Other plays that I like, can't trust Markieff Morris until he gets that game in there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like any of the guys below Millsap, really. I guess my question to you is, if you had to decide between this 84 to 98 range and you could make it work, would you go Blake Griffin, Ben Simmons, or Porzingis, or would you just pay up for Anthony Davis and make that work? I think that's the bigger question than who's below Paul Millsap.
I think the way he's playing right now, you go Porzingis. Who's he going to be facing up against? Charlotte. They're good against
probably
the
Marvin Williams.
Yeah, I just think he's playing out of his mind. His usage is through the floor. Like, you watch him, and every time he gets the ball, he's looking to score. He's playing good defense. Let me see here. He had 6 blocks last game, 3 blocks the game before, 1, 3, 2, 3. He's getting blocks. His ceiling right now, I think, is higher than Simmons and Griffin and those guys. So I think I would go for a big. And I think I'm talking myself into possibly rolling him out there in the lineup tonight. I like the Millsap call. I don't think I'm playing. No. Keep in mind, people, when we talk about guys like Quincy Acey today and Joe Harris today, they are not lock value. Sometimes there is lock value out there. This is value that could bust. Let's put it that way. This is not Quincy Acey. Start him at 3,000. He's going to get you 25 fantasy points. That's not what we're saying. We're saying he has the potential to do well, and that they're going to be getting more playing time because of injuries, which is key in the NBA. Joe Harris, He's super cheap. If he's in the starting lineup, if you can get a starter for almost under $4,000 on FanDuel or on DraftKings, that's a great way to open up the value. And what you do is you're hoping he gets that 20. I mean, like I said before, you tell me he's getting 27 again. I love it because then I can get Westbrook in my lineup. I can get James in my lineup. So right now, at least, I am not saying these are lock value guys. These are a little more risky value guys. And again, sometimes there will be value that opens up that is just lock. I'm trying to think of an example. I will come up with something, but there, when the backup is good, for example, when you have a really good backup on that team, let's use the Tyler Johnson Goran Dragic example. When Tyler Johnson's $3,900 like he was yesterday, and Goran Dragic $7,000, and we get a last minute scratch that, or even during the day, we say, you know what, Goran Dragic's not going to play. He's hurt. Tyler Johnson is starting. Tyler Johnson's a good player that already produces, and he's $3,900. That's more of what I would consider a lock value, as opposed to these guys that are average 10 points a game and are getting their first starts and things like that. So that's probably the best one I could come up with off the top of my head. But yeah, I think paying up per power forward and or going a couple of these middle guys, Anthony Porter, Millsap Porter, like I said, I don't even mind John Henson going up against Cleveland at 5,000 or Ibaka at 5,000. You put those two guys in if you're not playing Davis, for example, and that leaves you a lot of money. So we're going to wrap it up with the center position. I usually am timing to make sure and do a certain amount of each position, but I had not started the clock, so I have no clue. We might be going over today, but that's okay. It is a long slate. I realize it is 4:30, so I'm going to try to get this up here shortly so you guys can get it on. We probably should have just done it live today, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Center, FanDuel, DeMarcus Cousins, $11,800. He is the most expensive, as usual, for a reason. Then you got the Joker at $9,500. Nurkic at $8,300. Rudy Gobert, who is probably my favorite, not counting Cousins, at $8,100. Gobert goes up against Philadelphia without Embiid. Rashawn Holmes will be starting any other night. I probably wouldn't mind Rashawn Holmes, but he's going up against Gobert. So, like, if you were telling me Rashawn Holmes is starting at $4,900 going up against a someone else, I would probably like Rashawn Holmes, but I don't because of that. So I do like Gobert. Gasol, the never-ending story of he's probably going to play. Talking about some of the higher-end centers, are you locking in Cousins? It sounds like not. If you like Davis more, I think you like the Joker. Talking about him, talking about Gobert, some of these guys up here.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to decide between. Like I said, I usually do two sets of lineups on my most mellow nights, and I'll do a lineup and a hedge lineup. So my main lineup tonight would start with the Joker. You called him. I'm not up with these nicknames. I just got to know Swaggy P, and I feel like the coolest guy in the world.
Joker, that's one of the best ones out there. Nikolai Joker, because no one knows. It's best when the guys you can't pronounce their names. It's best when you call them the nicknames.
I know, I get it, but Joker. I can't keep up. Because there's Boogie Woogie, and I'm like a dad. I'm like, just give me, like I'm already I got the dad vibes already. I can't keep up with the hip kids and their Swaggy P nicknames and such. So let me just I like Jokic at 9,500. I think him and Millsap will demolish that Brooklyn like I said, there's a correlation between, I think, playing Millsap and the Joker, and maybe pairing them with Quincy Acey and Joe Harris, assuming they dominate so bad that Damari Carroll gets taken out of the game from foul trouble. This is a scenario that I think is very plausible tonight. Other than that, I do like Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is going up against a Philadelphia team that's already really bad at guarding the center. And now they're playing Holmes tonight. Rudy Gobert hasn't played up to his potential yet this year. He's had a couple stealing games. He had a 61-point game against Dallas, but he hasn't been that good lately. I think Rudy Gobert is a very good play at the center position. If you want to dip down, he saves you 1,400. Quite honestly, I think he's worth a little bit less than 8,100. Like, I do like him against Philly, but he carries a lot of risk. So he's not as much of a lock as I think the Joker is. But, if you want 1,400 to mess around with elsewhere, Rudy Gobert is the place to go for that. Other than those plays, you have to monitor Kevin Love. He's sick. It says illness. Miles Turner is back, but I don't like him against DeMarcus Cousins. I'm not paying up for Cousins. I would go to Anthony Davis if you wanted to do that. If Marc Gasol doesn't play, you can consider Nurkic, but I still don't love that matchup. I guess I would go as far down as taking a chance on Rashawn Holmes. He is a good player. If you want to take a chance on him, I have no problem with that. Wait, what's going on tonight with the Philly situation? Is Okafor playing? Is he?
No, he's out.
So wait, no, but they have. Let me see.
Oh, not Okafor. You said Embiid. I thought you said
Embiid. Yeah, because Embiid's out. Right. So their only big men are Rashawn Holmes and Okafor. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I'm going to continue to monitor that.
And Covington will drop down a little, and Simmons will drop down a little. So
honestly, I think that whole situation just says like Rudy Gobert more.
Right.
But there's viable choices if you go down here. You have Willie Cauley-Stein. You have Steven Adams. You mentioned him before we got on the podcast where you were talking about
like Steven Adams quite a bit.
Yeah, like there's options. I just think the center position will produce a couple of players that hit that 60 burger. And I think those players might be Jokic, the Joker, and or Rudy Gobert. So those are my two favorite players. And they're in some pretty good matchups. I guess Rudy Gobert would be my favorite play because everyone knows the Joker could do well against a Brooklyn lineup that is just horrible.
Well, I was just tuned out for a second because I was trying to tweet you a picture of the good picture of the Joker. So you're locked into the Joker pick according to Twitter.
Oh, that's great. I love it. But yeah, I do like the Joker pick, but I think that's obvious. So maybe going down to Rudy Gobert, saving a little money, it could be worth it. I'm messing around with a lineup right now that I actually don't mind.
Well, the guys,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm messing around with the lineup. I just went down from the Joker to Rudy Gobert, and it allowed me to go from Brogdon to Westbrook with a couple minor changes, which was a big change.
Yeah, I think tonight is one of the deeper lower end if you choose to go down to Steven Adams at 62 or Enes Kanter at 62. I wouldn't blame you. Robin Lopez, 57, going against JV, who's 47. You say his name better, Valanciunas.
That is a name I can't say. That's Valanciunas.
Yeah, so he's only 4,700 going against Lopez.
He's actually a viable player as well. They're using him appropriately this year. Last year he was never getting the minutes that he needed, but he's actually getting the minutes that he needs this year. And in the right matchup, he can do very well as well.
Yeah, I should have given Dedmon a higher stamp of approval last night because I did play him in a couple. And on a short slate like last night when Whiteside didn't go off, Horford did, but Dedmon put up 40 and Horford 49. So the only 9-point difference in but the price difference. So I do give my stamp of approval to some of these lower end guys tonight. If guys asking me in chat sometimes, I'm okay with a couple of these guys here. And, I mentioned Adams and Canner. Now that they're on different teams, I love it because you don't have to decide between two of them. Canner, he's been a little up and down, but he's 29, 40, 18, 26, 35. So he's getting much more involved. He's always been more of an offensive player. But Steven Adams, who would have thought that with Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Westbrook, that Steven Adams was going to be the one that capitalized. The past couple of days, last game he only had 12, but he's at 30, 32, 29, 32, 41, 44. So these are all 30-point games that are pretty consistent now for him, and he usually goes lower owned. But I think I might try to pay up for the Joker, pay up for Cousins. Gobert, I really like. So, I think you could go Gobert, and then you can go Gobert. I'm going to make it right now. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and then you could hit optimize. I don't mind it. It gives me Russell. Mention Frank Kaminsky. He's actually in play for me tonight. We didn't mention him, but at 4,100, I don't mind Kaminsky. He's been picking it up a little recently. I know that's back at power forward, but I think he's center eligible in DraftKings. He's at 18, 13, 19, 19, but his minutes are there, 25, 24, 25. So maybe if they gave him the ball a little bit more, Kaminsky could get you that 25. That's going to do it for today, guys. I think we went a little long, but there's a lot of games tonight. So, hopefully you get a chance to listen to this on your way home from work or something, and hit us up. We will be in the NFL chat, NBA chat from 6 to 7. Right, Lou? You're going to be in there tonight?
I will be in there. I always say I'm going to be in there, and then I always just go do my own. You know what? I'm a what's that Always Sunny line? I'm the wild card. I'm a wild card, so you never know where I'm gonna be.
The worst for me is I love answering people's questions. Don't get me wrong. The worst is if I'm still tinkering and I'm trying to answer questions.
I got you, and the thing is, it's my fault because I'm always missing the chat room. So I'll be in there.
That's right. We'll try to get Adam Ronis said he will join us after NFL season. Adam's a good NBA player, but with NFL, it's really bogging him down. So he'll get in there with us too.
Starting what is it? Starting 6 o'clock.
We'll try to get Nate to get in there too.
Well, the first game tonight is 7.
Scouting for NBA every day. Go
ahead. First game's at 7. So Fuego, what do I got to be there at 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. You go take a nap for an hour.
I'm gonna take a nap for an hour. I'll be there. I'll be in there at 6. We still have some news that we're waiting on. So I'll stay on top of that, and I'll be there to answer your questions.
Or if you have a cash game article, you could put that up too if you feel like it.
Yes, I will talk to you about.
Give us. You don't even have to go into depth. Give us a couple guys at each position.
Guys. All right.
Don't even go into depth and give us a couple guys.
All right, I will throw a couple guys out there. I will. Put that article up, and I will see you guys in the chat at 6. Let's make some money tonight. It's a big slate, so these big players can't cover everything.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely ways that you can, and you don't have to worry about those ties like on the 3-game slates where if you win, you're tying with people or things like that. There's no obvious no obvious lineup construction. Let's put it that way. Sometimes it's just so obvious that's why it ends up happening. So, all right, for Jaguar Lou, I'm FuegoSteve. Everybody, let's get that money tonight. Good luck and peace out.